Now, I've just done some reels on Section 21 and periodic tenancies, assured periodic tenancies, and people, I guess, say, oh, you're going on about that. Why do you think that they really did it? Do you think that governments, and I'm not talking about, I really am not talking about let's name, I keep saying red and blue, the Labour Party, the Conservative Party, dear Lord above, the Green Party. There's Reform, there's all these yellow Liberals, the Liberal Democrats, I don't know what they call themselves at the moment. I'm not talking about a particular government, I'm talking about all governments. Why do you think that they changed the laws like this? So to get rid of Section 21, which was a no-fault eviction, and to replace it with only a fault eviction, was it to help, though? Was it to give the power back to the tenant? Was the tenant to say yes? But I don't mean tenants are gullible. Tenants are gullible. All people are gullible. The more socialistic you are, the more you lean towards socialism, the more gullible you become, clearly. I mean, down here in Bristol, this weekend just gone, because tonight is, oh no, it's Monday at the moment. But Saturday and Sunday, they were down protesting. And I read the article on what they were protesting about. And I don't know what they were protesting about. I don't know if they think they were protesting. I don't know. It's about anti-racism. So were they protesting against racism or protesting for anti-racism? I don't know. I wasn't protesting because I was too busy working and I was too busy walking the dogs. So what I'm saying is, the more capitalistic you are, the less gullible you appear to be. You can still get caught out. Oh, don't get me wrong. You can radically get caught out. So a government comes up with an idea. Let's get rid of Section 21. Everybody says, hoorah, yeah, power to the tenant, yeah. Now there's only a fault eviction. And I've mentioned this before on YouTube, but sometimes things get lost in the past. Now there's only a fault eviction. Now that's a little bit of a problem, because an awful lot of landlords, sometimes they're owed 1,000 or 2,000 or more. Sometimes they can be owed quite a lot, and they just want the house back. They want the flat, the building, whatever it is. They just want it back. They just give it back. Just give me the keys. Just give me the keys. Go away, and I'll sort it out again. That's gone. And what it is now there's a fault eviction only. So now you say, right, you owe me £2,000 in rent, and now I've got to sue you for that, and the judge has got to look at that, and he or she has got to say, yeah, you owe £2,000. Now, you ain't ever going to get that. Do you seriously think that some tenant that can't afford to pay you the rent is going to suddenly say, oh, yeah, I'll pay that? Well, they got, I'm not sure if it's 21 or 28 days with which to pay that money in full, or a CCJ lands on their doorstep and is attached to their credit file. Now that's a CCJ lasts 6 years. Now that 6 years starts from the day it goes on the credit file, not from the start of the action. So the 6 years might not start for a few months. Now, local authorities are doing licensing. They do selective licensing, HIMO licensing, HMO licensing. They do all different licensing, and gradually they're extending it to everywhere. So maybe in the next 5-10 years, maybe a little bit longer, absolutely every rental property will need a license. Now in that license, it says you must really check out your new tenant. You must ask for references, you must credit check, you must do all these things. Well, why would they say that? What's it to do with them? How well we credit check or reference or look to the landlord for referencing? What's it to do with them? I don't get that. Do we? Do we get it? So let's have a little scenario here. Along comes Mr. Tenant, Mr. Not Very Good Tenant. I'm not going to pay the rent, but nobody knows that. So now, I don't pay you 3,000 or 4,000, ha, and you've had to evict me, and you threw me out, and all I had to do was hand the keys back, and now I walk to the next place, and I'm not going to pay rent there. Now, that's not a very nice lifestyle to lead, is it? But people do it, okay. So now, the government, any government, no particular color, has said, right, now you've got to have a fault eviction. So now you get a CCJ. So Mr. Bad Tenant comes in and he gets evicted, and now he's got a CCJ on his name. There's nothing he can do about it because he doesn't want to pay. And he's certainly not going to, if he didn't pay you the $4,000 before, he ain't going to pay it to you now, is he? Why would he? Because first of all, he probably spent it on whatever he spent it on. But not to be outdone, local authorities say, make sure you reference, you get one to the old landlord, you do a really good credit check, you do all these different references. And then you say, Mr. Tenant, you got a CCJ here for non-payment of rent. And I've asked your old landlord, and that's what they're asking, to reference your previous landlord. They're asking the old landlord and he said you destroyed the place, didn't pay any rent, and he had to evict you. And the tenant says, or the prospective tenant says, yeah, but I'm different now. Yeah, okay, well, you be different somewhere else, mate. So what does that mean? We need to go back to the beginning of the video and see the bit where I said, do the governments do it for the tenant, to give the tenant power, and it's a vote catcher, so let's give the tenant power and we'll get voted in? Or did they do it for themselves? Well, let's just have a quick look. If you look at the Office for National Statistics, why would they ever lie? Clearly they don't. And yeah, they don't. There's 1.33 million people on the social housing list as of the 31st of March 2024. Bearing in mind that actually that's almost exactly 2 years ago. So they estimate that the social housing list is going up by 43,000 per year. And they estimate in that next 10 years starting from 2 years ago, so 2034, that there should be 2 million people on the social housing list, the council waiting list. 2 million people. First of all, they ain't building enough houses, not even close, and we won't even go into that. But it's not just that, is it? It's the ballooning cost of social housing. So say this particular house or flat is £1,000 to rent, but the going market rate is 1,000. But in social housing terms, we'll rent it to you for 300. Well, who pays for that? Well, you think it just magics out of the air? No, taxes pay for that. It comes from some budget somewhere. Somebody pays for it. You don't build you build a house, and the cost to build that house is exactly the same as a private house being built or a social house being built. Matter of fact, the social house is probably more expensive because it's probably built better. So these two houses cost exactly the same to build, but one rents out at 1,000 and one rents out at a fraction of that. Money is coming from somewhere, and it's coming from government. So in getting rid of Section 21 and giving these periodic tenancies, these long tenancies, what they're doing is the local authority then turns around and says, well, we are discharging our liability to house you because you didn't pay the rent, you got taken to court, you've got a CCJ, you made yourself purposefully homeless. So we're discharging our liability. So all of a sudden, this 1.33 ballooning to 2 million people all queuing for a cheap house suddenly starts going down. And that lasts 6 years before you can do a credit check. Now this has already happened. This is already happening. It's happened to me. It happened to me about 3-4 months ago. We had a little studio come up, and a lovely girl, she applied for it. So we said, okay, we need your credit file. And she had a reference from the local authority. She had a reference from a social worker. That's always, you think, why? But okay, we'll go with that. And we said, and we actually said, in accordance with our licensing, because this particular place was licensed, because not all places are licensed. And I said, we need a reference from your previous landlord. And she said, I can't get one because I was asked to leave. I went to the local authority and they said, stay in there until you're evicted. And she said, so I did. So I stayed in there till I was evicted. He evicted me and now I'm out. And she said, so I don't think he's going to give a very good reference. But that was all the reference I needed. So not only could I not get a reference, I was told the reason, which was quite understandable, because if the first thing I say is, well, I evicted that tenant, so good luck, mate. So we said, I'm sorry, we don't want to take you because you were evicted. So it's already starting. The process is already starting. Well, you think it's going to get better? You think it's going to get... No. Thousands, tens of thousands of people are going to be in a situation where they got CCJs, and the CCJ might not be for very much. The CCJ might be for, I don't know, £1,000 or less. And what's going to happen is the local authorities are going to discharge all their liabilities, aren't they? Isn't that, aren't they? You say you got evicted for non-payment of rent. Here's the CCJ. You got evicted for social, not social unrest, antisocial behaviour. Here's the, So, let's go back right to the beginning. Did they do this Section 21, get rid of that, and only Section 8? And did they give long periodic tenancies in order to help and give power to the people, power to the tenant? Or did they do it to help themselves? I don't know. Maybe you turn around and say, Mav, you're talking out your backside, mate. You're absolutely talking out your backside. You don't know what you're talking about. And you may well be perfectly correct. Perfectly correct. I don't know. Want to comment on that, please?